Good morning, WMBM listeners. I am Dr. Karen Lewis. I am the host on Real Estate Radio. I'm always glad to be here live at the station. You all are going to have a super time. Get your pen and paper. Sometimes I think you all are not listening to me, but this time today, you better get your pen and paper out. We have a fabulous guest. We're live on Facebook also, K1 Realty Group Facebook page. And my contact information is 954-248-9149. I'm with K1 Realty Group. And all of our social media is K1 Realty Group. And you can find us. We are more than glad to help you purchase a home or to help you sell a home. And make sure when you're selling, we're going to help you get top dollars. If you want to call in today, the phone number is 1-888-599-9626. And hello to all our Facebook listeners. Thank you all for being loyal, and our listeners as well. Tamika cannot be here today. She had death in her family. We're praying for her and we're with her in spirit. So Tamika, we miss you. And I know you want to be here with our guest today, but at least you can see us live on Facebook. So with this time and at this time, who do I have the pleasure to be with next to me? I'm going to let him introduce himself, okay? I'm ready to start talking. You know I am.
Dr. Karen, thank you so much for having me on today. Marc Williams with Paramount Residential Mortgage Group. I am a loan officer with Paramount Residential Mortgage Group, and I've been with them for the last 7 years, but I've been in the industry for the last 15 to 20 years in housing in some sort. So I'm just really glad to be here and sharing a lot of information with you today.
When I asked Marc before we came live, and I said, Marc, how long you been in the business? And he said, all my life. And when he said all my life, I'm like, well, you just look like you're about 15 talking about all your life, though, as opposed to all my life. Marc, I am glad to have you here. I work with Marc, and my brain did not go there to invite this expert on the radio show. And Tamika, she was like, you must. I mean, behind the scenes, you better get Marc on the show. That's, in other words, that's what she was saying. So I wanted to have Marc here so that he can just answer questions, because, you know, it is a time, people always ask me, is it the right time to buy? And one of the things that I always say, are you able to buy? Do you have everything in place? Then I'm going to say it's the right time to buy, you know, because maybe when you may think it's a buyer's market or a seller's market, whatever market it is, you can't qualify at that time. So if you qualify, definitely want to consider buying. Marc, so many things in the industry is just changing. So first thing we want to talk about is just what are the guidelines with the different loan products? Just educate our buyers. And I always say, talk to us like we're in the first grade. Do not talk to us like we're a doctor. Talk to us like we're in the first grade, so that you educate our listeners. Because what's important is that people are educated when it's time to purchase a home.
Absolutely, and that's a great question. So I will say this, there are two different types of loan products out there that might be best suited for you. One of them happens to be what we call an FHA product, Federal Housing Administration. It's a type of government loan, typically for a lot of first-time home buyers that help them. So some of the requirements are typically lower credit scores. Anything above a 580 should be able to hopefully get approved, but there's other factors as well. And the requirement for their down payment is 3.5% of the sales price, right? So if you have $100,000 that you're looking to purchase, then you're looking at about $3,500 that you need to put down. Now, I will say this, you know, you mentioned something there in the very beginning about the loan products and the guidelines. Those guidelines for an FHA product or a conventional product that I'll get to here shortly, those guidelines are always constantly changing. So I always urge first-time home buyers, whichever product you choose to go with, be thinking about getting the highest credit score possible and having as much of your down payment as possible. The minimum is 3.5% with the FHA. However, if you can put down a little bit more to make your offers a little bit stronger, to make your financial situation a little bit stronger when you're purchasing, I always suggest that as well. And then there brings us to the conventional product. The conventional product, stricter guidelines, but you could put down 3% in some cases and not 3.5%. The credit score requirements are a little bit higher. You're looking at about 640, sometimes 660 or higher. So those are the constant guidelines that are there, but I will say that they are changing. So even though I'm telling you a 640, you may need in some situations a 660.
Wow. You know, he said a mouthful. When they say a mouthful, I start writing it. But so here's one of the issues that we're having as a real estate agent, Marc, is that our clients qualify and they qualify for FHA. The unfortunate part about it, in the listing agent mind, they would rather take a conventional client as opposed to an FHA. So what are the guidelines or what are the requirements that they can do a conventional? I know you said FHA, we start at 580 and can go up. That's one of the questions, and so I don't forget, because you're younger than me, so you can remember. That second question, I heard you say that if a buyer has FHA, even though it's 3.5%, maybe they can put down 10% or something, and then that makes their offer stronger too, because the listing agent can see that. So can you talk about those two things that I just mentioned?
Okay, so I really want to be completely honest with what I'm seeing in the market, and sometimes it's just not right, and I'll be honest with you. And
right.
The reason being is for a buyer who has been qualified for FHA could possibly also qualify for a conventional loan, but they choose to go with an FHA product because for whatever reason financially it's better suited for them. It doesn't mean that their offer is any less than
right.
a conventional offer. Okay, now I know that there are a lot of listing agents and realtors in the market right now that are only looking at conventional buyers or cash buyers.
Right.
And I would say you may want to not do that. And the reason why I say that is because you really want to open up the market in the sense of looking at buyers as a whole. Unless there's something drastically wrong with that property, where you might not be able to get insurance for the property, or it might not pass an appraisal, then those are different things to review and look at. However, no first-time home buyer may want to even get involved in a property that might have roof damage, that might have electrical problems, right?
Right.
So, but for the buyer, I really want real estate agents to understand that an FHA is just as good as a conventional loan for the buyer, long as we as the lender and professionals have qualified that buyer, meaning that we've looked at their income, we've looked at their credit, and they may be best suited for an FHA loan. Please take a look at their offer and don't discard it, because there are a lot of first-time home buyers that are great, they're qualified for an FHA, and if we're taking them off the table, then they might not be able to ever purchase in this particular market. So all I'm saying is give that buyer an opportunity to be able to look at that, right? So there is no major difference between, as far as an approval versus an FHA versus a conventional.
Wow. So what you're saying is powerful, is profound. So listing agents, if you're a listing agent, then one of the things, and be fair. I mean, you do that, and you're not even aligned, and I'm being honest because I see things behind the scenes and we're just calling it out, is that you're probably not even talking to your client sometimes to just accept that FHA offer, because in your mind that you believe that the conventional is a better offer. Well, maybe you need to have the conversation with the lender on who the buyer is working with, somebody that's qualified, somebody that has actually screen the client to say this is a ready, willing, and able buyer, and they're going to get to the closing table when the contract has that closing date on there. So I think that is really something that we need to listen to as an agent. So I think that's good. Now, Marc, here's another question. Do you recommend an FHA buyer that is putting down 3.5%? Do you recommend them putting down more money, or maybe they could just hold that money in escrow and get it back? What's your thought process on that right there?
So that's another great question. And I would just say, in this particular market where it's a seller's market,
yes,
I'll just give you an example. A real estate agent called me the other day and said, Marc, we're entertaining this offer on the table. Please run the numbers for me. They went out, ran the numbers, they went out, and there was a line around the block for this open house, right? And the
yes.
realtor, the listing agent, came out and walked to each person down the line and asked them, are you willing to pay $5,000 to $10,000 above this appraised value? There were people that said yes, there were people that said no. And the realtor said, well, if you're saying no, I need you to step out of the line. That's how drastic and aggressive it is in this particular market. Now, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I will tell you that although you may have a 3.5% down payment, right? Be prepared in this particular market to be as aggressive, as diligent as possible, to be able to put down maybe a little bit more, to make your offer strong and a little bit more acceptable, if you will. But 3.5% for a lender's perspective is enough to meet the FHA guidelines. So, but be thinking about that as a first-time home buyer.
Wow, that's awesome too. And it is crazy out here.
Yes.
I mean, we're going showing properties, and we're seeing a line around the corner. And we're thinking that sometimes when a person is qualified for a $400,000 house, that they can find a house just like that. We have buyers, Marc, that we're waiting to find properties. One agent, it was day before yesterday, and they put something out, a comment on Facebook saying that I'm getting ready to list the property, and if you saw the amount of real estate agents was like, me, if you need it, I need it. And so we were all just making a comment like, call me. And I said, I happen to know the agent. I said, well, just make sure that, you call me, I'm your family. But this is what's happening in the market right now. And so here's another thing I say to buyers, don't let it frustrate you. Just continue and stay the process. And I have buyers sometimes, Marc, they'll say, this is not the time for me to get a house. No. If you're working with a great lender, if you're working with a great real estate agent, K1 Realty Group, I'll just throw a tip out there for that, you're going to get a house. You just have to stay the process and trust the process. And you'll get a house, though. And so don't get frustrated. That's all, okay? Marc, that's just great information for us. And the credit score, you were saying something about the credit score, 580. If you have a 580 credit score, you can still purchase a house.
So with the 580 credit score, that's for the FHA, and I'll just kind of reinforce that as well. With that credit score, it's not to say that you're definitely going to get approved either, right? So there's other factors. So how much money are you actually putting down? What does your actual credit look like? Even though you have a 580, have you started repairing some of your credit? Have you tried to increase your score? What type of property are you buying? Those are things and factors that we are looking at as lenders to really see whether or not the approval will come across our table, right? So I always urge folks, not only get the 580, but try and increase your score, because you also want to get the best interest rate long-term for that loan, okay? And the cost associated with each interest rate is changing daily, just like the market, okay? So we always urge that the higher the credit score, the lower the cost that you'll have initially, and the long-term benefit of that lower interest rate will also take place with a higher score than a 580.
Okay, so you're saying we want everybody to make sure that the higher the credit score is, the better your rates are.
Absolutely.
So make sure, here's another thing too, is that Mark, and let me know if you do this right here. If clients come and they just want to know, okay, I need to know what I need to do to get me to where I need to go. Will you sit down and have well, yeah, you will. I already know you will have a conversation with them and kind of lay out a plan. And that's where the expert comes in. Not as you don't qualify, so don't call me, go call someone else or forget it. I know you do that, so that's a good thing that you will lay out a plan for them, Mark, to make sure that if it's anything, they can get to the closing table and they can get a house. They may not can get it today, but at least they'll know what they need to do. So that is a good thing. I just actually answered my own question with that right here.
And let me just say this as well to Dr. Karen. Basically, we as lenders, we're not in the credit repair business. That's not what we do, okay? However, we do have tools that we can access so that if I pull your credit report and I see that you're at a 580 or I see if you're at a 569, I can run what we call our simulators to be able to show you what you would need to do over the next 30, maybe 60 days in order to increase your score, okay? And if you follow that, typically 96, 97% of the time, your score is going to increase within that time frame. So not many lenders do that. We have that in-house that we are able to do and kind of follow you and making sure that you're on the right track to hopefully increasing your score. But I'm not only going to talk about credit, I'm going to talk about your savings. Tools that you can use working with your local lender that might, where you keep your checking account, your savings account, that might be able to have tools as well to show you how to increase your savings as well. So all those are great tools out there. And for credit repair, if I could just give a shout out to Shawnee Curry at Purse Empowerment. And
what's up, Shiny? Shiny, that's my girl. Tell them throwing a kiss at her.
Right. Yeah. And then also Andre Coakley at Credit 360. So those are great agencies that are helping folks repair their credit and increasing their scores so that we can get you into the home.
And Shani doesn't. I don't know. I have to. You have to connect me with Mr. Coakley. I'm not familiar with him. Would love to speak with him. But Shani will definitely work with you. She'll make it happen. I mean, if anybody can do it, I'm going to put my money on Shani. Oh, this is a gospel station. Shani, okay. Awesome. So let's talk about this right here. Everybody wants to know about this down payment assistance program. Talk a little about that, Mark. And, so many clients call me on that right there. And the first thing, I don't even get information from them. I just tell them to dial Mark. So let's talk a little bit about that.
So I have been doing down payment assistance probably for the last 20, 25 years.
Wow.
It is something that I enjoy. It is something that I love because I like helping the underdog, to be honest with you. A lot of people will say, oh, well, why do you do that? Down payment assistance, it doesn't work. There's always issues. Well, let me just tell you, if you've had issues with down payment assistance, it's because you were not talking with the right lender, the right person, and you didn't understand the program. I'm just going to be completely honest, right? So the better that you align with the right professionals, right? And other folks on your team, the easier it will be to understanding down payment assistance. Here's the thing. There are tons of assistance in Miami-Dade County and Broward County. You have to make the determination on where you want to look for that property. Whether it's in a city in Miami, whether it's a city in Broward County, there are funds out there. Miami Gardens, as an example, has $20,000 that you can access for down payment and closing cost assistance. Broward County, up to $50,000 for first-time homebuyers. These are grants that you do not have to pay back.
Wow.
Now, the reason why I love them is because even though an individual is doing their best in this market to say $5,000 to $7,000 or $10,000, they may need a little bit more of assistance. It's not that they're not a great buyer, but they may need a little bit more assistance to help bridge that gap for their savings, okay? To be able to put down money for their down payment and for their closing costs. These programs are also great because they lower the amount borrowed by that first mortgage lender, which makes the payment also more affordable for a lot of first-time home buyers. So it's my specialty, it's my niche, it's what I love to do. The programs are getting better as far as the time frame for closing. There are requirements that make it a little bit longer, but I tell you, in this particular market, there are a lot of individuals that are closing within 30 to 45 days.
Wow.
With these programs. I've done those types of loans. Sometimes they take a little bit longer, but I will say this. Real estate agents, please help your buyers understand the documentation that's needed.
Okay.
And the quicker and easier they are with providing that documentation on a timely manner, then the process will move along a lot quicker. But there's tons of funds out there for first-time home buyers. And I've also seen, Dr. Karen, a situation where a lot of listing agents will not entertain down payment assistance offers. And that goes back to the FHA versus the conventional. If I'm a lender and I have an approved buyer, and I can tell you that we can close those loans within 45 days, what's the issue? Really?
That's right.
You have a good buyer that just needs a little bit more of assistance. If you are a listing agent and you had an issue with not closing on time or you didn't understand the program, please reach out to me and we're definitely here to help as well. But the programs do work. Let me tell you, I would have been doing them for as long as I have if they were not working. Okay, so I'll just leave it at that with
That's
the down
right.
payment assistance.
Trust me, he's definitely telling you some great information. And this is really for the agents as well, Mark, as opposed to the buyers. Mark, you have to just give out your phone number because we only have about 5 minutes. Give out your phone number if you're interested in purchasing a house, if you're just halfway thinking about purchasing a house, if you just mention the word house and you need to speak with a lender. Trust me, please give him a call. Ask him the questions, okay? Just don't say, I can't qualify for a house. Call him and get some information from him because you don't know. And there are so many down payment programs out here, and he is an expert. And one of the things that sometimes lenders will tell you, they don't, even lenders will tell you that they don't work. Listing agents don't do them. The reason lenders would tell you that is because they are not an expert in it. And that's why they'll tell you. And some of them may even say, hey, you can get contributions from the seller. And that's true, but they don't want to deal with the down payment assistance program because they're not knowledgeable enough. And so you definitely qualify your lender, interview your lender, interview your real estate agent. There are so many of us out there, and you want to make sure you have that professional who's going to get you to the closing table. Listing agents, call the lender and talk to them as opposed to saying, no, I'm not going to accept that buyer. Because most times you're probably saying that you're not going to accept it and it never gets to the seller. And if it does get to the seller, you're going to come up with 101 reasons on why they should not accept that offer because of your own thinking process. So, hey, Alicia, that's my broker. That's my girl. That's my colleague. She's a broker. And I have to give a shout out. I was about to say the Real on Real Estate Radio. What is it? The Real Estate Experts. That's my girl. That's my girl. I had to give her a shout out. She's listening live on K1 Realty Group Facebook page. Mark, that was just so awesome on how you shared that information. If you want to say anything else, I have one more question that I'm just going to shift though. About, did you want to add anything in closing about that?
Well, just related to the down payment assistance, there's also HUD certified counseling agencies. These HUD certified counseling agencies are working with buyers on a regular basis to getting them prepared by working on their credit with them, working with their savings with them. So reach out to your local HUD certified counseling agencies that provide that type of counseling as well to get you ready to meet with a lender such as myself to be able to get qualified. Wow. So I just urge you, experts and so many other agencies out there as well that are helping a lot of first-time home buyers, and they also have access to a lot of these down payment assistance programs that work as well. So I will say that you can reach me. I'm going to throw out my number here as well. Right. It's 786-525-5835. Once again, 786-525-5835. Marc Williams.
There is so much information out here that if we are interested, that we can purchase a home, Mark. I mean, yeah. You're giving the resources on how to help us, how to build up generational wealth, how to increase home ownership in our community. That's why we're here, the Real on Real Estate Radio. That's why you're here, Mark, today. So, and I heard you say you like working with the underdog. It's time out for us to say, blame it on someone else. Call Marc. Call me 954-248-9149. Get the information. It is available to you. I was going to say something else, but look like we only have a few more minutes though. Marc, real quick. Yeah. Do you work with people, even like real estate agents who do the 1099? Can you help them?
Absolutely. For those individuals who might have a small business or they're paid by 1099, as long as you've had that type of income for 2 years or more, we can definitely help and assist. Even if you've made a shift from a W-2 type of employee to a 1099 individual, give me a call. We'll talk it through and see if we can guide you on the next steps to making sure that you're qualified as that 1099 individual.
Well, sounds like to me he can help everybody. And if he can't, he'll let you know. He'll be honest with you, though. But I believe that even if he can't help you today, that if you're serious about it and do what the credit specialist says, or whoever you're listening to as your counselor and Marc as your lender, I'm as your real estate agent, that you can get a house. And again, on a serious matter, it's really time for us to start, building generational wealth and increasing home ownership in our community. Marc, I want you to give your number out again, because it's that time, but give out your number again. I think it's important. Don't let Marc's number go to waste. I'm telling you, if you're serious or if you know someone that is interested or even just thinking about purchasing a home.
So 786-525-5835. And let me just say this. I really love what we do, and thank you, Dr. Karen, again for having me on, and we're here to help as much as possible. It's our time to really kind of purchase and get involved in this market right now and own equity in your property. So thank you.
Own. It's that time. Thank you all for joining us today. I am Dr. Karen Lewis, licensed broker with K1 Realty Group. My phone number is 954-248-9149. Always thank you all for joining us, and we hope you got some nuggets out there that can help you get your home, or you can pass the information on to someone else, okay? See you all the first and third Saturday of the month at 11 a.m. The Real on Real Estate Radio. Make it a super Saturday.